Hey guys, welcome back to another Draft Doctor episode. We are going to be walking through an AFR draft. I'm Zach. That's Ben.
Looks like we're into our first episode and I'm already talking over Zach. Speaking of which, beep beep, paging Dr. Zach, paging Dr. Zach. We've got a draft that's come wheeled in on a stretcher here. We don't know what shape it's in yet, but we got to take a look, break it down. We're gonna offer some potential opposite picks, some maybe alternative deck building choices at the end, and just kind of our thoughts on the draft overall.
Exactly. So we do have an AFR draft here, and we're going to be taking a look at these. If you want to submit a Draft Doctor, you can do so by joining our Patreon. All the details for that are on our Patreon at patreon.com/draftchaffpod. We have a channel in our Discord that covers how you can kind of get involved with sending these over to us for these videos. But without any further ado, Ben, we've got a pack here. It looks like a rare Vile, the Book of Vile Deeds, Book of Vile Darkness in the Mythic slot. Not one that I've actually gotten a whole lot of experience playing myself. We do have Kalane, which is obviously a large contender for one of the better cards in the format and really kind of makes the black-red sack deck tick. We do get to see here what this user happened to pick with Power Word Kill, and looking at this pack, I can't say that I argue with this pick at all. I think this is a really solid place to start this format.
Yep. Only option here besides Power Word Kill would be Kalane. Now, if this were a quick draft, I would probably just slam Kalane. The AFR quick drafts, you could force black-red pretty easily. That being said, this is a premier draft. Better to start with Power Word Kill, just a monocolored card, and it does kill pretty much everything you need it to.
Yeah, we've talked before on the show, like, Feywild Trickster is a great card for this deck. Unfortunately, this deck isn't good. So even taking like an amazing card for the deck, that deck being, of course, red-blue dice rolling. Yeah, I think I'm happy with the Power Word Kill here. Let's move on to pick 2. Well, speaking of blue-red, we do get another linchpin in that deck in Farida, Devil's Chosen, but obviously not really looking to be moving into that. In our common slots, we've got a Sepulchre Ghoul, which is a good early black common to take if you can find it. They don't get past that often. Other than that, I see Plundering Barbarian catches my eye. I like to see the Herd Gorgers. Obviously, I'm not really interested in taking one this early necessarily, especially with black as our starting point. But in kind of aligns with this really powerful removal spell, Hunter's Mark does kind of fit the bill there. And it's a solid uncommon. We noticed the rare is missing in this pack.
Yeah, this is kind of a hedging pick. Taking a second removal spell means you're likely to wind up in either black or green, and then you have a pretty solid removal spell in either. That being said, I might have taken the Sepulchre Ghoul here. I just really like it. Black-red sack is the best archetype, and even outside of black-red sack, it's still just a pretty solid card. You could get a little goblin token or two running around from either adventuring or from, if you're in red, token makers. Besides that, I agree the Barbarian is another high pick here. And I don't mind the Pegasus if you're trying to get a little more aggressive, but I own the Mark here too.
Is there any worry about like going too heavy, because this is a premier draft, going too heavy in red-black, or should you not really even be considering at this point what other players might be inclined to be drafting?
I'm not really worried. I'm still just taking the best cards from my deck. I like to assume that everybody else is a worse drafter than I am, or a better drafter than I am. Doesn't really matter which. I guess Schrodinger's drafter, whatever's going on, doesn't matter. They exist in a quantum superposition of good and bad. And until I actually play one of them in, I guess, a pod matchup, which is pretty unlikely on Arena, they may as well not exist. Better not to think about it or start crunching the quantum numbers.
There you go. Yeah, just pay attention to signals that are in front of you and go from there. Got it. Well, yeah, I think Hunter's Mark's a pretty solid hedge, as you said. Moving into pack 3 here, we see, well, not a ton in black specifically. Eyes of the Beholder, not really a card we're interested in playing. Certainly not this early. Deadly Dispute, one that I've seen have some success. Like, it can be pretty solid in these red-black sack decks, and it's a good way to get that sacrifice trigger. I know where you went immediately. You got a big Tiger Tribe Hunter here, which, again, very solid card in the black-red sack deck. But
yep, I love Tiger Tribe.
Yeah, it's a fantastic card. I know you were low on it early on in the format, but obviously came up on it, and again, with the red-black sack thing, it's pretty solid. But Magic Missile's also in the pack.
Yeah, I suppose I have to eat my vegetables here and take the magic missile. It's always going to get a 1-for-1. It's sometimes going to get a 2-for-1, and pretty often at 3-for-1s too. Uh, that, I mean, compared to Tiger Tribe Hunter, which does sometimes just 1-for-1, it can be good, and it can allow you to get a lot of productive 1-for-1s, maybe trading a 2-drop for a 5-drop in some cases. But Magic Missile is just it here, and I really like that we're seeing a lot of both red and black cards. Deadly
Yeah,
Dispute, Earthcult Elemental, even Valor Singer. These are all cards that I'm pretty happy winding up with in my deck at the end.
yeah, that was something I noticed as well. There's hardly anything else really in this pack. It's pretty much entirely red and black cards. We have a couple of little green and blue down here, and a few, colorless things. Mimi's Containment is fine, but has kind of underperformed, I think, overall for me in this format.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Weirdly enough, Weirdly enough, it almost looks like people have been taking blue and green cards out of this pack. Obviously, we don't know what the distribution was exactly. There could have been a red rare and 2 bomb black commons, right? But I don't know. There's a minimus containment. That's fine, but neither of these blue or green cards, Herbalist or Grasp, are any good. What's next?
Yeah, so next we have pick 4. We see another Feywild Trickster. Nice. I always like to pay attention to when I see those floating around, but in red-black, we see Deadly Dispute and Yuan-Ti Fangblade. Kind of interesting. This is a bit opposite of the last pack. We don't really have any red cards, but there are a couple of pretty solid green ones in the form of Prosperous Innkeeper, and that's pretty much it. I mean, you find a Cursed Idol's like arguably playable in certain situations, but I think Prosperous Innkeeper is a pretty solid green card. I think sticking... So far, we have 3 different colors. We don't really know what we're doing yet. So it's kind of difficult to find a spot. I think in this seat, I may have actually just taken the Innkeeper to try to pair with that Hunter's Mark. I know we want to be playing black, where we are slanted to playing black in this format. And Yuan-Ti Fangblade's also another pretty solid little creature to kind of have in your deck. And I guess you do also really want to play this Magic Missile, so taking the Deadly Dispute is not really something I'm going to dispute. But I do have my eye on this Prosperous Innkeeper.
Yeah, this one I think is pretty close. I'm a fan of the Innkeeper, but I'm less of a fan of red-green or black-green than I am black-red. I mean, I like Jund as a whole, but I'd prefer not to draft it. I would probably have also taken the Dispute here, although I may have just taken the Fangblade. Gotta take creatures at some point, right? And you can usually pick up a Dispute if you want it. That being said, Dispute is just one of the better cards in the format. I'll just take the Dispute here and be pretty happy. You know, I'm liking the look of our patience so far. This thing is not in too rough shape. Maybe a few scratches and bruises here. Next up, we've got Rust Monster, another Deadly Dispute in the pack, and it's looking like white may be getting a little cut off. We've got a Dungeoneer in there, but that's it. Seen a good number of uncommons still coming around. Shockingly, no one seems that interested in blue, in the Charmed Sleep or the Trickster's Talisman, both of which can be good cards in other formats. I like the Rust Monster here. I really like staking your claim on black-red.
Yeah, it sort of feels like we're being handed the deck at this point. Moving on to pick 6, we've got a Plundering Barbarian. I think this is a perfect pickup here. We're pretty solidly in moving in the black-red sack direction. There is Yuan-Ti Fangblade, and we're not really interested in anything else in this pack besides those 2 cards. But I totally think Plundering Barbarian's the right pickup here over the Fangblade. You can generally pick these up when you need them, and Barbarian's just a very versatile card in this format.
Yeah. I've honestly used Barbarian to blow up one of my opponent's treasures, and it's felt great. Like, this card either +1s you in treasure, whether it removes 1 from your opponent or adds 1 for you, or sometimes you get to actually blow up one of their equipment, or a good one like the Talisman. Fantastic. I like the Plundering Barbarian here. Now, it looks like green might actually be open. Circle of Dreams, right? Druid, Circle of Dreams, Circle of the Moon Druid, and Null Hunter. Both semi-playable. I like Null Hunter more. And it's a solid 2-drop in the format. In multiples, it really can get out of hand. But, I don't know. It looks like this Hunter's Mark may have to potentially get splashed, or just kind of stick in the sideboard.
Into pick 7, another Plundering Barbarian. Happy to see those. Sad to see this Loyal Warhound. There's a good old pupper floating around the table, but not really something we were interested in either. Druid class hasn't impressed me, and obviously we're not aiming to play green right now, and yeah, you really can't argue with this Plundering Barbarian pick.
I like Boots of Speed. it essentially functions in a black-red deck like giving all your creatures haste. Sometimes you can get an extra treasure early on from something like a barbarian and just kind of keep hitting your land drops from drawing cards off Deadly Dispute, that kind of thing. And you wind up just giving every creature you play that turn haste. Giving something like an Earth Cult Elemental haste can be enormous. Sad to see our good boy, the Loyal Warhound, go, but that card wasn't great anyway. I mean, sometimes it would just end up trading for a Goblin token.
Yeah, you don't really like to see that. Wow, and pick 8, we do end up with a Sepulchre Ghoul here. So this is looking like I said, the red-black deck is kind of just getting handed to us here.
Mm-hmm. Yep, no reason to really ditch it at this point. Now, I do like an Evolving Wilds, but again, Sepulchre Ghoul going this late is a huge signal. The fact that we're getting it pick 8 means that everybody saw it. Everybody said, no thanks, I'm interested in something else. And given that we're already kind of going into the red-black direction, yeah, let's stick with it.
When you see this Sepulchre Ghoul show up, how are you starting to think, well, maybe I'll see that other one that we passed? Like, do you expect we're going to see that other one in pack 2?
Potentially. I don't know. I could see maybe potentially picking one up in pack 3. Wheeling multiple Sepulchre Ghouls is, well, that's a feat. Let's see if it happens.
Sure. And then also just one comment on the Evolving Wilds. This deck does happen to make quite a bit of treasures, so the E-Wilds is something that it can kind of avoid if it absolutely has to. It's not really a big deal to not pick that up. In pick 9,
you don't have to tell me.
We have a Vampire Spawn here. Yeah, I think this looks fine. We are starting to get somewhat heavy on the 3-drops. I'd want to get another couple of 2-drop creatures in here at some point, but I think Vampire Spawn over Armory Veteran is fine. We're not really looking to play too many equipment in a deck like this, and sometimes it happens and you get a few that you like to play, but I think Spawn's is just fine.
Yeah, this is a closer pick, but I'm on Siege Rhino here.
And we got our 3rd Barbarian. Looks great. I like that over these other 2. Manticore's been a little disappointing in this format overall, and Skeletons is very much a replaceable card.
Yep.
We notably did not see that second Sepulchre Ghoul. It does seem that got picked up. Dueling Rapier here.
Someone probably just grabbed it. The Rapier.
Yeah, it's fine. And we're just kind of combing through. We did get a late Deadly Dispute here in pick 13.
It's a very good pickup.
These cards are kind of picking themselves at this point, so we're looking good. Oh my goodness. So we're totally going to just slam the Gretchen Titchwillow here.
You can splash it off of all those treasures from the Barbarians, right? Now, Orcus is just great. In a format with very few board wipes in general, and where the board can kind of stall out a little bit, Orcus is great on 6, it's great on 10, and it's great on 4. This is a 5/3 Flampler. Like, just put it in your deck and cast it as a 4-drop. You're pretty much going to be casting this every turn 4 with this many Barbarians. Even if you don't hit your 4th land drop, just make a treasure, cast it anyway. Yeah.
Exactly. This is actually a pretty powerful pick, too. I mean, Orcus is obviously the pick here, but there's also another power word kill and a Price of Loyalty in this pack. So for our deck, this is unfortunately, there's also another Plundering Barbarian. But unfortunately, this is actually a pretty high-powered pack for us. I don't expect we'll see the power word kill come back. We may see the Price of Loyalty, given the way the first pack went. But we are in the other direction, so hard to say at this point.
Death Priest of Merkle is not bad, and I will play as many Shambling Gas as I can get in this kind of deck, too. I'm curious to see what comes back from this pack.
Into pick 2, we do see an Asmodeus. I haven't been super thrilled with Asmodeus. It seems more like a trap than anything. But
I agree.
You'll be happy to see we do have a Tiger Tribe Hunter. We also get to see here Red Dragon's a solid card. Been one of the better dragons in this format. And Swarming Goblins is also a very playable 5-drop. So I think between the 2 5s, you're definitely taking the first Tribe Hunter over the first Swarming Goblins. But all 3 are cards that we want.
This is the first pick that I think I disagree with. I believe I would have taken Red Dragon here.
Yeah, I agree.
Especially because given the opportunity to pick up those boots, I mean, just a hasty dragon. Not saying that we need the boots to make it good. This is a 6-mana deal 4 to face with a huge flying body attached. I don't know. I just feel so much better whenever I have a dragon in my deck. The fact that they could close out games more effectively than a lot of the other cards in the format. Plus, if you get caught with your opponent with a dragon, weirdly enough, one of the best ways to counterplay against dragons is dragons of your own.
Yeah, and this, like I said, is one of the better dragons in the format, so Yeah, I think I agree with you. I would have taken the red dragon here. It is nice to grab one of these tiger tribes, but we're kind of at the point where, well, I guess we only have the sepulcher goal, and we do have the deadly disputes. Like at this point, I would value a price of loyalty effect over this sort of sack effect because we do have quite a few ways to sacrifice creatures. But yeah, I would have taken the red dragon here as well. On to pick 3 here. Not a ton in high contention. Another plundering barbarian and another vampire spawn. Looks like our patient here went with a warlock class, which is a fine card. I guess it fits in a deck like this fine. It's one of those weird ones where it like doesn't do a ton until you max it, and then you can just kill your opponent the turn you max it. So
yeah, I found that this will usually ping them for 2 to 3 damage during the average game. And then if you ever get to activate that last level, it will usually clock them for a bunch. Pairs very well with the large flyers like Orcus or Red Dragon. And it gives you something to do on both turn 1 and turn 2 when it's in your opening hand, which currently our deck is a little bit low on.
Yeah, we really only have these this 1/2 drop, which we would, as I said, still be looking to kind of fill that slot. So I'm fine with the Warlock class here. Nothing else here is really going to hit that 2-drop slot, and it's a versatile card. Into pick 4.
Goblin Morningstar. Awesome.
We see the Goblin Morningstar. This is fantastic to get. Improvised Weaponry is also an interesting card. We don't have a ton of removal just yet. I mean, we have the Magic Missile and Power Word Kill, which are both fine. And, you know, I think that's okay for now, and I don't know that I would have taken Weaponry over Morningstar. Morningstar's a fantastic card, but just something to keep in mind that we saw it. Maybe we'll get it back, question mark. Next up, Hobgoblin Captain, another fine pickup for this deck, and filling that 2-drop spot. So we picked up a couple of really solid 2-drops here in the last couple picks, and totally agree with this one as well.
Just what the doctor ordered, if you will.
Oh boy, this is going to get old really quick, isn't it?
Price of Loyalty. Fantastic pick here. The only other option here would be Critical Hit, and I don't believe this is particularly playable. However, kind of funny with Orcus.
That's true. It is a bit of a funny combo, but yeah, Price of Loyalty is exactly what you want. This red deck, black-red deck rather, is really flowing right now. Into pick 7.
Horde Robber.
Yep, we see a Horde Robber. Another fine 2-drop as we're trying to fill that slot. I think what we'll probably be looking to do is cut like one or both of these Dueling Rapiers, but we're happy to pick up a couple more 2-drop creatures here that are going to potentially get some decent value.
You know, I would actually argue that the Dueling Rapiers are a combo with the Horde Robber. Horde Robber attack on turn 3, flash in the Rapier, all of a sudden, well, I mean, they probably blocked with their 1/2 or their 1/3 or even their 2/3, thinking that they could get away with it. Then the Rapier just comes in, and our Horde Robber ends up getting a good bit of value off of it, and then now it's attacking as a 3/3 forever until they get rid of it. Also, for the longest time, I thought that tail in the art belonged to the Horde Robber.
Yeah, no, it's the dragon that they're robbing from. Pick 8, another Hobgoblin Captain. Not super surprised to see a green dragon flowing around this late. I mean, green was pretty open in pack 1, and the green dragon's probably the worst of them. Not super surprised to see that. But Hobgoblin Captain is another great pickup here. This pack has kind of done everything we needed it to.
This deck is looking almost complete.
Yeah, we'd love to see a Kalane. A second Price of Loyalty, though, is another nice little spot to grab here. The Shambling Ghast is interesting, and I think this kind of deck does want like 1 or 2 copies of this, but I'd rather just take the Price of Loyalty here.
Price of Loyalty is just amazing in these decks. You're usually going to be casting it with Treasure, so you'll get the bonus. If you've already made Treasure and are casting it with Treasure, you can do this on turn 4. You can go something like turn 3 Barbarian to get your Treasure. Turn 4 Price Deadly Dispute their creature. That is going to win you the game, 90% of the time on the spot?
It's up there. That's definitely a good line. Coming into these last few picks, there's not really a whole lot I would dispute, I don't think. I mean, you're probably not playing any of these 2 cards, and nothing else really fits the deck. And yeah, we're kind of just rounding down. Armory Veteran could make the deck. We have a few different equipments, the Goblin Morningstar, the Dueling Rapiers, so maybe it makes the cut. Not sad to see that.
Wow.
Okay.
Another black-red rare.
Yeah, basically. I mean, so this is interesting because this is a deck that, kind of like the snow decks from Kaldheim, can sort of afford to splash just about anything, with all the different treasures that are floating around. And this is not a splash that you'd even question if the deck couldn't make all those treasures. So this is something that you're just slamming here, and it's the rest of the pack is relatively weak as well. So you're not even really left with a choice. This is pretty blatantly the pick here.
Yep, Adult Gold Dragon is by far the pick here. What's the earliest you could cast this? You can't cast this on turn 3, can you? No, you can cast this turn
probably
4. Okay,
4,
that's still pretty good. Still pretty great. I was gonna say if we can get ourselves a gas to die, that could do something. Another price here. There's also a Death Priest of Miracle and an Earth Cult Elemental, which I do usually like 1 or 2 copies of in this type of deck. I don't know though. With 1 Sepulchre Ghoul, 2 Deadly Disputes, you want around the same number of turn against effects, that being Price of Loyalty, and sacrifice outlets, and you really value the repetitive sacrifice outlets. So you definitely want to have, what can become problematic is if you have more turn against effects than you have sack outlets. Then sometimes you're missing your sack outlet, you have a turn against, and you're like, well, do I fire this off? If they end up just getting their creature back, was it worth it? I don't know. It's looking pretty solid though. The fact that we have the Sepulchre Ghoul and 2 Deadly Disputes, yeah, and Tiger Tribe Hunter kind of counts as well, but you know, you need a bit more setup for that. I would have maybe considered the Earth Cult Elemental here, just to supplement our creature count by a little bit. The Death Priest of Miracle is also fantastic in these decks, but I don't know. We've gone pretty deep into this vector already, right? I just lend the price.
Yeah, I mean, you're just taking your opponent's best things and using them against them. Here's a Shambling Ghast. I do like to see that. I was expecting kind of this patient to pick up the second Warlock class because we already have 1 copy, but yeah, Shambling Ghast is perfect here. Would be nice to see the Swarming Goblins as well. We don't have a whole lot up above the 3-drop slot, so I kind of would have liked to get this in as a 5-drop to kind of complement that Tiger Tribe Hunter, but maybe we'll get it back.
I think this is another pick I actually disagree with. I do like Shambling Ghast, but Swarming Goblins, it's just fantastic in the black-red deck. The ability to just make a bunch of tokens, start going wide, ones that you can suit up with maybe one of these rapiers, or maybe the Morning Star after the previous owner has died. I think I'm on the Goblins here, but it's, you know, it can go either way. I'd probably take the Goblins. The Warlock class actually does get a little bit worse in multiples. You can't spend all day in this format activating level up abilities of classes, but I think the Goblins would have been a nice top end here.
Yeah, so into our next pack, they picked up the Jaded Sellsword instead of a Hobgoblin Captain. I probably just would have taken the Captain. Sellsword's fine, but like, I don't know. It's not really something I'm excited to play, and I'd rather just have the Goblin here, I think.
Yep, I agree. It also pairs very well with the Tiger Tribe Hunter in that it gets you to pack tactics, and it's also a good thing to fling at another creature. That crucial 2 mana for a 3-power creature is it acts kind of like a lightning strike if you have a pack tactics Tiger Tribe Hunter in play.
Wow, and we do end up picking up the Kalain mid pack 3 here. This is pretty wild.
See, some draft doctors I expect to be submitted to us because the draft was a train wreck. There were just, you know, not enough cards to make the deck that they were hoping to make. I think here we have the opposite problem, just on the total other end of the spectrum. Kalain, Warlock class, Dragon's Fire, and Sepulchre Ghoul. What?
Is there a world where you take the Sepulchre Ghoul here? I mean, we have 3 Price of Loyalties, 3 other... No, probably not, right? With 3, it's kind of 3 and 3 on turn against and sack outlets. I think Kalain's probably just what you want here.
Wow, this is... I really can't think of another scenario quite like this. This is pretty wild.
Into pick 6, not a whole lot going on. Thieves' Tools is fine, which I probably would have taken over the Fates Reversal, but I don't know that it would have gotten played anyway.
You know what? I think the massive brain thing here, take the Treasure Vault, get that sweet, funnily enough, that vault progress.
Yeah, there you go.
Some nice gems.
Pick 7, another Vampire Spawn was the pick. Yeah, not a lot else going on. Totally fine with that.
Fine with me.
Pick 8, we see Ferris Fireball, Hexblade. Not really considering Barbarian class for this deck.
I think I probably would have taken the Hexblade here. Not a huge deal. This deck is a little bit low on target removal besides Price of Loyalty. So this deck could potentially run into problems if you happen to not have that sacrifice outlet. I don't know. Now that I think of it, maybe the Sepulchral Ghoul was the pick over the Kalane and just going absolutely ham on the sacrifice deck. But I don't know. The Hexblade kind of provides an alternate, more mid-rangey way to play into the Black-Red Treasures theme. Probably would have taken the Hexblade here myself, but Fireball's also fine.
Yeah, I think it's a pretty strong chance either of the two get cut. So probably not very consequential, but Zombie Ogre here's fine. Nothing really to say there. And we're kind of rounding out this pack. There's really not a whole lot to go over in the last bit of this pack. So here's what we're looking at with the main deck and sideboard at the end of the draft. Now, I think obviously this is 17 lands kind of showing us what the possible main deck could be, but I think for us, you know, I would probably cut, and we're looking at what, 6, 17, 19,
do you want to pull it up in the deck builder?
That's probably the better way to handle this. Yeah, we do have 3 different decks to go through that our patient ended up going through. So let's look at this. What got cut?
I think there's isn't. Wait.
Oh, there's the pool. Yeah, here's the pool.
Tell you what.
Let's do that.
Cut this. There's the way to link it to the sealed pool.
Yeah, here it is. Looks like my thing was a little off though. Hold on. Okay. All right, so here we are with our pool in sealeddeck.tech, and well, let's just kind of get at it, right? So definitely bringing in the Ghast, bring in Warlock class, probably Disputes.
Definitely the Disputes. We can toss in stuff like Kalane, Adult Gold Dragon, Orcus too, just kind of off the bat.
Yeah.
This is a bit of a look into our behind-the-scenes deck building process. Now, as deck doctors, we are semi-qualified in deck building, and I actually consider that one of my personal stronger suits when it comes to limited. I think this is a very strong-looking pool we have to work with here. Now, I think probably one of the hardest parts is going to be making the cuts that we have to. So sometimes when we're looking at a pool that's this strong, some of the cuts just end up being multiples that are unnecessary. So, for example, I don't know if all 3 of those Plundering Barbarians are going to make it in, but I'd certainly like to try and start with them all in. But look at this. We're already up to 19 cards, and we haven't even gotten past the 3-drop slot, right? We've got the Plundering Barbarians. We've got the Tiger Tribe Hunter. Orcus and Adult Gold Dragon bring us up to 23. Is this just the deck?
I think this is the way I'd build it, yeah. I mean, and then you just run a nice split of red and black lands. Where you're not playing the Rust Monster here, which I think there's an argument that you could play, but I don't think we're actually generating too many treasures. We have Kalane, and we have the 3 Plundering Barbarians, so we can make quite a few. We actually, I'd argue you almost don't even need to run a Plains in this deck.
I'm not running any Plains.
Yeah, I think
probably
you just do an
going
even black-red split.
Yeah, I'm going 9 mountains, 8 swamps on this one, just because we do have a few double red pip cards. We've got that magic missile. We got the Tiger Tribe Hunter.
Yeah.
But I could maybe even see a world where you play 16 lands with this. I don't know. You've got multiple Deadly Disputes. You'll have card draw. I think this is probably fine. So you do have some ways of using the treasures. Something like sacrificing the Deadly Dispute, which functionally acts as like a 1-mana version of itself. And then you've got the whole prices to kind of spend treasure on turn 4 potentially, stack the Sepulchral Ghoul or to the Deadly Disputes. I don't know. I think our patient's looking pretty shaped up here. What do you say?
Yeah, this looks pretty solid to me. I don't really have anything else to say. The deck kind of built itself.
Nice. Now, I do think the Rust Monster is an interesting cut here. I agree that we don't actually make that many treasures, and sometimes the Rust Monster can go off if you get a Hoarding Ogre or 2, which unfortunately we didn't actually see any. This deck would have loved 2 copies of Hoarding Ogre. It's probably my favorite common in the set. But without that repetitive way of treasure generation, I agree. I think the Rust Monster stays on the side.
Yeah, this is how I'd build it. But super solid draft, very solid deck, and thanks for being our first patient.